Good morning, folks. This is Granny at Granny and Grumpy's greenhouse. And I buy my eggs, I have explained to y'all over and over, from my sister and brother-in-law. Now, it's actually more from my brother-in-law because he's the one who actually runs Bang Cacklery. And so this morning I decided that we would make an episode highlighting George. His name is George Bang, and what he does in town in Raleigh with raising chickens. And so we will pass it off to you, George.
Okay, as you Bang Cacklery, as you can hear in the background, you probably hear the chickens. It all started out about 3 or 4 years ago when I got a wild hair and said, I think I want to have some chickens because I like good eggs. And I asked my son-in-law, who's a NC State poultry science major, what to do. He said, you need to look up rentthechicken.com. Rent the Chicken is a small business where they will rent you 3 chickens, a coop, and all the food you need. And it's very good for people who don't really know or not sure whether they really want to raise chickens. It's not for everyone. It sure was for me, because here 4 years later, I have owned as many as 30 chickens. I'm down to, I think, 8 now. And I love every minute of it, love the fresh eggs. I get to exchange fresh eggs for barter with Lynn for wonderful, fresh, Granny and Grumpy vegetables. Hello, girls.
Well, they sure seem like their daddy.
We have, at this time, we have a total of 8 chickens, I think 4 different varieties. Now look at this one. This one eats out of my hand. And boy, they love that cracked corn. I've had a bunch of meat chickens, which I raised for meat, and they're all gone now. The rest of these, they're all hens. There are no roosters. Because here inside the city limits, roosters make too much noise. Just a ordinary suburban yard. And as you can see, that's one of the 3 coops we have. We'll have a closer look at that later. Now, as for acquiring chickens, there are several ways to do this. I kept the chickens I had with rentthechicken.com, and then I lost 1 or 2 to predation. Let me just talk about predation for a minute. If you want to completely avoid predation, you're going to have a very, very firm, fortress-like coop. I didn't want to bother with that because, frankly, in the city, we don't have that many predators, but we do have them, and we have lost chickens. As you see, my chickens are free-ranging. They have coops they can go into at night, but most of the time, they are just out and about. Now, in the summer, they don't even eat that much food because they get so much out of the yard itself. They get worms, bugs. Another benefit is we have hardly any bugs in our backyard because chickens eat them all. Okay, ways to get chickens. You can buy them. In the remarks, we'll put a couple links there where you can see where you could buy what are known as pullets. Those are maybe 5 or 6 month old chickens that are on the point of lay. They're more expensive, cost about $25 a chicken. But at least you know when your chicken started laying so you can get an idea. They do tend to taper off after a couple of years. Typically they'll lay, but just not as often. Another way, which I did with most of these chickens here, they are mostly from McMurray Hatchery. And you order your chickens, and they ship them U.S. Postal Service. You have to pick them up at the post office. But if you order, they'll ship them, they'll hatch them on a Monday, they'll ship them on a Tuesday, and by Wednesday, you've got cute little baby chickens. And they grow fast. You wouldn't believe how fast. In fact, my meat chickens went from hatched to dispatched in 8 weeks. That's how long it took for them to become full-grown candidates for the freezer. This is one of our 2 chicken coops. Now, they are not laying in there at the moment, although they did at one time. They do roost here at night, and this is one of the 2 places where we provide them with their food. This is organic, non-GMO chicken feed. Okay, this is our second hen house. And as Granny is looking in there, we have a couple of eggs that were laid this morning. The chickens lay in 2 different places. You don't really need anything this fancy. My stepson built this, and I thought it was so nice. We fixed it up and put it together. But all you really need for a chicken house is some place where they won't get wet. That's pretty much it. You could use, and some people use an outbuilding, a barn. Even I've seen people use these little toy houses, plastic toy houses. Any place where they can roost is a good place for the chickens to seek shelter. This is our 3rd roosting place. As you can see, this is the most primitive. All it is they nest on the ground. They rest in these 2 things and lay eggs in there. We also have our feed. We use nothing but organic, non-GMO feed. We just keep it in a big bin. And that's basically it. I just want to emphasize that keeping urban chickens is a lot easier than most people think. And it's a lot of fun, and the eggs are just amazing. Anyway, thanks for listening in.